Sort of break it down like this.
Gang Hang! Welcome to the Gang Hang, everybody. It is almost Halloween. I'm here with a very sick Joe Patrick. His hair is a little mussed, but you know.
Hi.
He's doing his best.
I don't know if you can...
It's all we can ask.
It was sticking straight up in the middle.
It's really something.
Yesterday.
It's really something.
It looks good. I think it looks great.
It's the THN Gang Hang. We do it on Saturdays at 11 o'clock Central. We would love for you to join us. You can join our Discord and get more information on how to do that. We were just talking about Five Nights at Freddy's. There was much hullabaloo. If you watch wrestling, there was a shitload of Five Nights at Freddy's stuff going on all week on wrestling. It was ridiculous. So I said, okay.
Why?
Let's give it, well, because Peacock put it out, and Peacock hosts all the WWE stuff, right? So they're very much involved. They were very much invested. And they did like Halloween Havoc on NXT and stuff, and where everybody dressed up and came out doing scary stuff, and then they wrestle. It was dumb. But not as dumb as Five Nights at Freddy's. That movie was terrible. It's PG-13. It's not scary. You could tell they said, okay, we're allowed to have like 3 scenes with blood in them, but it can't be anybody getting killed or stabbed or bleeding that way. It's just like a kid turns around and he's got bloody eyes. Ah, like, oh, okay, whatever. Yeah, it was not good. I made it halfway through and went, done here, bored. Out. It was not good.
So you didn't even get it watch far enough to see where they judiciously placed their 2 allowed F-bombs.
Oh,
it's only one, I think.
I think it's 1. I think you get 1 in PG-13, but I would doubt it. They weren't even saying shit in this one. Like, it was like a kid's, halfway in, it was like, this feels like a Goosebumps movie. Like, it was like, like scary stuff for 10-year-olds.
I guess I don't know what you were expecting. Like, that's kind of what Five Nights at Freddy is.
I don't know. I never played the game.
I never. A scary movie that you think is super scary.
A scary movie that I think is super scary?
Yeah.
Event Horizon.
Event Horizon's a very scary movie.
Event Horizon.
Yeah.
Okay. Event Horizon.
Monster Squad is a very fun horror movie, but it has legit scary stuff that happens in it. Like,
yeah, Monster Squad's amazing.
There's some good jump scares in there and stuff like that. It's fun.
See, and I think you're colored by your I think that you are colored by your memory of Monster Squad. It was scary to you when you were a kid, but I don't think you would find Monster Squad scary.
I'm not saying like
it's watched it for the first time.
I'm not saying it's a scary horror movie. I'm saying they do things in the movie that are very traditionally like scary Wolfman, scary, like things. They're going for it. This was
the Event Horizon. JD is right. Is a very scary horror movie.
Yeah, it's a scary horror movie. I love it. Cosmic terror. Oh my god, anything overwhelmingly cosmic terror.
I love that movie when it came out. I haven't seen it in years. I really want to revisit it because I remember it being like really, really super scary.
Oh, it's great.
I watched Event Horizon with my dad on video when it came out for home video in 1997, I guess. And that movie scared me so bad that's the entire reason why I spent the next 25 years swearing off horror movies.
I saw it in the theaters and I was fine.
Yeah, Matt, you are not a good barometer for this kind of thing.
Not just an adult, Joe.
Nobody
I'm just
wants
an
your
adult,
opinion
man.
because you have a black heart.
Just an adult.
You listen to death metal. You've got a heart fueled by demons. I don't.
But
want
I
your
giggle about death metal. It's not like
wearing a Phantasm T-shirt.
I am wearing a Phantasm T-shirt. It's one of my Phantasm. Oh my god, I love it so much.
And Phantasm is a terrible movie. So
it's
your
bad.
Opinion is
Phantasm is a bad movie, but it is done with so much artistry and creativity for the amount of money that they had. I love it. I love it. And it's one of those things where John Carpenter talks about Phantasm and how much he was working on Halloween. Phantasm, I think, came out shortly after, maybe the same year even. And they're like, I can't say the name of the director, but they were like buddies. And he was just blown away with the product when it came out. He was like, it was
Martin Scorsese.
It was so creative. It barely makes sense. I mean, whatsoever. But man, they went for it. It was great. I love that movie.
Francis Ford Coppola's.
I think it was. Yes,
is what it was called. Yeah.
Joe,
I
I'm
saw.
with you. I don't like jump scares. I've famously said my favorite horror movie of all time is Cabin in the Woods, just because of
great.
the meta aspects to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's more than a horror movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super fun.
And like as I've grown older, I've kind of like I'm okay with jump scares sometimes, but in general, I don't really care to be startled, which is why things like Five Nights at Freddy's don't really do it for me.
There's no jump scares in this movie.
But I mean, a movie like that where it's like the only thing this movie has going for it is startling people. Like no,
they could have
I
done.
agree.
They should have leaned into
cheap
that.
if it's only jump scares.
No, agreed.
Right.
But a well placed jump scare. There's nothing better. There's nothing.
Anybody ever
right,
watch
right.
Prince of Darkness?
Yeah, Prince
John
of Darkness. Oh,
Love that movie.
You want to talk about a
That's
movie that
one of
makes
my
almost
favorites.
no sense, and I love it.
love
It's
it.
so great. Like it's Satan and time travel and shit. Like, oh man, it's great.
That's got the brother. That's got one of the Simons from Simon and Simon.
Yeah,
right?
he replaced
Prince of
Kurt
Darkness.
Russell. It's the entire cast of like all the John Carpenter
Of Simon
movies.
and Simon.
But they couldn't get Kurt
Oh.
Russell because he was working on something else. So they got and Simon, not Simon, but and Simon. to
Right,
play it.
right.
Yeah.
Not Major Dad.
Yeah, not
the
Major
other one.
Dad. The other
Major
one.
Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a great
I
movie.
I think
Alice
I think
Cooper's in
one of
it.
my
Alice
favorite-
Cooper leads all the homeless
Yes.
people.
Yes.
And you can
Yep,
tell
I was
they were
gonna
like,
say Alice Cooper's
Alice
in it.
Cooper showed up and he's like, all right, I'm ready for my makeup. And they were like, no, man, you look perfect. Like, just
You're
get
great.
in there.
that's part of the unofficial trilogy.
Yeah.
You know, you've got The Thing, you've got you got that, Prince of Darkness, and then I think the other one is
In the Mouth of Madness?
In the Mouth of Madness.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like
In
the
the Mouth-
unofficial trilogy.
In the Mouth of Madness was great too. I love
Oh,
that.
That movie is
I love Sam
absolutely
Neill.
nuts.
Yeah.
Yes.
That movie's
Sam Neill is great.
totally
That movie's
nuts.
absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
Now, where do you guys stand on what the hell is it? Pinhead movies.
Hellraiser.
Hellraiser. I
Hellraiser?
hate Hellraiser.
I
Barker.
simply adore the first Hellraiser, and everything after it is pretty much
Right.
garbage.
I
Everything
kind of
after
feel
it.
the same way.
Pretty much
I
garbage.
thought that first one was great, but
The latest
rest
thing
I
they
think,
did
what the
with
hell?
the new Hellraiser, they did it wasn't last year, maybe 2 years ago. It was just pure garbage. And it's not because, oh, you made Pinhead a girl? I'm out. Bah. I'm not saying that at all. Like, she looked terrifying.
Yeah, she looks cool. Yeah.
But when you put the Cenobites in all white, they were all wearing all white. And it's just like, that's not working for me. You know, like I need,
like that Battlestar Galactica episode.
I need the black leather. I need the blood on the black leather and the white skin under it for the intense contrast, you know? And like, it wasn't scary. It's such a waste. It was such a waste. You know what?
Could you connect
best
Hellraiser to Event Horizon? Would that be like the shared universe?
I mean, like you look, Hellraiser 4, they go into space. You know, they didn't take a lot of time to get into space. But
Maybe the Event Horizon travels through the Cenobites' home dimension. That's how they get to, that's how they, they punch a hole through the universe, right? They got to go through somewhere.
yeah.
Right.
Like-
In Event
it's
Horizon,
like-
they built a ship, and then in the movie, some kid just opened up a magic book.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, open up a box. It was like the same way that, you know, Sabine found
Like
Ezra. She got a ball and she twisted a thing and it was like, there you go. You know, like,
Yeah,
oh.
I mean, it's like Nightcrawler. When Nightcrawler teleports, he teleports through limbo, right? And
Is
so
it Limbo
he-
or is it one of the hells?
I didn't think it was Limbo.
I don't think
I
it's
think it's-
Limbo
Yeah, I don't think it was Limbo.
Dark? Is it the dark? No, I'm thinking like
because Ileana got stuck in Limbo. And
Yeah.
That happens.
okay. Well,
Yeah,
he does tell. I have to look it up, but yeah, we all agree he does. He teleports, and for a blink, he is in another dimension, right? That he goes, he leaves our dimension, and goes through a door, and then comes out and from another door from within that dimension, and that's like what the Event Horizon did essentially. And so, yeah, if you want to just say like Event Horizon punched a hole through Pinhead's living room, then I'm like no prize.
Well, it's
You're no
not
prizes
Pinhead's
in the
living room.
mail,
It's
sir.
Leviathan's living room, which is even scarier.
Oh boy.
Oh,
So many, some years ago, a buddy of ours, Anthony King, who used to have this podcast called From the Basement on a Hill or something like that. It was called. It was a horror movie podcast. And he invited me, knowing that I, at that time, still was not a horror movie person. He's like, come be on the show. Watch a horror movie. You pick the horror movie. You watch the horror movie. You come be on the show. We'll talk about it. And so I chose Hellraiser because I was starting to dip my toe in. And I had borrowed The Thing and Hellraiser from Matt on DVD. And so I was like, all right, I'll watch Hellraiser. And I watched it, and I thought it was just the dumbest piece of shit.
You're just wrong.
Like Hellraiser is a movie where I completely appreciate the artistry.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And the effects, right? Like the way the movie is made and the way the movie is designed, I appreciate. The story makes no sense.
That's not true at all.
It makes no sense.
I could tell you the story in 2 minutes.
No, I mean, I know that. Let me rephrase. Yes, it's got a story. The story sucks.
Totally disagree.
I hate Hellraiser.
I loved it because it brought this super villain aspect to horror. Like it wasn't just like, sure, Jason is a slasher or whatever, and like Michael Myers, he's scary. Freddy can come get you in your dreams. It's like team of supervillains that comes to Earth to get people that escaped hell and take them back. That's scary. And that's scene,
a great plot.
Yeah, it's great.
You know what's scary?
Great idea.
All right, so you know what's scary?
Wasn't that Spawn?
No, good God, Spawn.
I just looked up where Nightcrawler teleports to.
I found it too.
Yeah.
It's called the Brimstone Dimension.
Yep.
And you guys are really not going to like this because it was named in.
Oh.
Yep, it was named in the Draco.
Yep. This is how
it was.
Let's take it a step further, JD, because I think we're looking at the same article. This is how Azazel found his son, Nightcrawler.
Nope, not canon. Not doing it. No. Thank you, Brian. No, it does. No, we're not doing it. There's 50 years of Nightcrawler history, and we're going to use that. No, we're not doing it.
So I read, just to completely derail the conversation for a second. I read Uncanny Spider-Man #2 this week. It's one of the 3 comics I managed to get read in drug-induced haze. And throughout that issue, Mystique is running around Central Park acting very strange. And she's muttering things about my baby. Oh, and it was he was blue like me and yada, yada, yada. And it's all these hints about Nightcrawler's origin, and they're setting up that issue that's coming out where they revealed Nightcrawler's got 2 mommies. And, or so we think.
Maybe they revealed it.
I think that they literally are planting the idea, getting ready to pull the trigger on undoing the thing with Azazel being his dad. And I'm all for it 100%.
I'm all for it too. I mean, I don't think anybody loves it, but also, isn't it just a thing we could just wave off?
It doesn't. It doesn't count. I did that. I already did.
Right?
It's got the opportunity to tell a good story and do that thing at the same time.
I suppose.
Then why not?
Yeah. I suppose.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
Codify it, man. Wave it off is fine. I can wave off however many years it was I had to deal with Spider-Man being a magical
totem. He was a magical
one or whatever. He
was a natural totem. It's different. All right.
Yeah. But then when we can finally come out and say, oh yeah, by the way, I would rather have them put it on paper that's
sure
bunk.
Hell, I can write off the Brimstone Dimension super quick and just say he teleports through the dimension of the Bamfs and just say it's
I like that much better.
Bamfs.
The cute
fairy tale.
Cute cartoony baby Nightcrawler land. Yeah.
Disney and Marvel totally missed out on a golden opportunity to make even more money because there is no stuffy Bamf that you can buy.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if parents are going to rush to the stores to buy their kids a plush baby demon toy.
I want
they
a
will.
plush version of every one of those.
I mean,
characters
adults
from the
would,
Oh,
yeah.
just
fairy tale. Oh, absolutely.
Frank, you be careful what
But,
you ask for here, because the second the X-Men are back in the MCU, you bet we're going to get an X-Babies cartoon. It's going to happen.
Oh, God.
Okay? 100%.
Joe, I can,
Calling my
I
shot.
don't care.
I'm just
Joe,
gonna
is it-
buy a.
Oh, nice shot.
Brian.
if the plushes are under $5 at Target, the parents will buy them.
Hell
That
yeah.
is- that's how
Fair
that
enough.
If
Hell
they charge
yeah.
$11.99, they're not going to do
Dude,
it. But if
yeah.
it's under $5, yeah, throw it in the
Oh,
cart.
you know
That's
what?
fine.
Now that we're on the subject, now that we're talking about stuff like that, like you would be surprised. Pet owners will know what I'm talking about. But if you go to the pet store, you'll be surprised to find what kind of weird licensed shit they make toys out of for your dogs
I
to
know.
chew on.
Oh, yeah. I got
Yeah.
a Chewy Wolverine head that these guys like run around with.
I got a Chewy Chewbacca. My dog
Yeah.
loved it until she destroyed it.
And it's like the
My-
old school
my
blue
kids
and
go
yellow
crazy
Wolverine,
for
too. It's not
Squishmallows.
like new school. I love it.
Which are just these giant pillow-like stuffies. My kids go nuts for them. It's not
Squishaboos,
Squishmallows, they're called.
Squishmallow.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my dog loves to destroy those.
But
Speaking
yeah,
of,
I did,
I'm
like
sure.
give me a Nightcrawler. Give me a Banff, a cute little Banff dog toy. I'll feed it to my dog.
sure.
She'll rip the tail off day one.
To get back to
And
where we
that'll be
were,
the end of that.
I don't. Losing the Draco, losing Azrael. No, we don't lose anything with Nightcrawler. In fact, I think we need to bring Nightcrawler a little back down to earth now that he's running around in a Spider-Man costume and shit. But
It's temporary.
don't
I'm
worry,
telling you.
Tom Brevoort's going to fix all of that.
No, it's going to be Mephisto. Just like
Yeah,
in
look.
Spider-Man.
Brevoort has
Tom
announced.
Brevoort-
Spider-Man costume.
Brevoort has announced. It's
Hey,
done.
Let's talk about
Krakoa's over. It's all going away.
Let's talk about that a little bit because we're in the fall of X and the
Mhm.
rise of the House of 10 coming up soon, and I've heard some people speculating. So, do we think we're going to get a full, I don't know, reset? I mean,
Yes.
do you think it's possible to just go back to this school in Westchester and put
No,
Krakoa
I don't.
behind us? Or
Yeah, 100%. I don't think, first of all, I'm not saying I want it or I need it, but I'm saying if Marvel thinks that that is the thing to do that gets them ramped up for an X-Men that people can relate to in the MCU and can pick up a comic book and follow, you bet your ass they will go, boom, it was all a dream. We've been in the mansion for the last
okay, so-
15 years. You know?
But do we want that? Do we, as the hardcore fans, do we want that?
I'm not going to say that there isn't a part of me that loves the X Mansion and loves the school for the gifted youth and everything, and the X-Men as professors and kids run. Like, I truly love that. I had fun with Krakoa. Very good time. I thought it was a really interesting way for the X-Men to grow. I think it got away from them. You know, like that ball rolled a little too fast down the hill, maybe. Possibly there's a better way to stop it as opposed to the ball never existed. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I don't know that that's what we're gonna get.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that I agree with you, Matt. That I think that Brevoort, who is based on everything he's posted or written, apparently has a complete disdain for the franchise, or at least it seems that way.
Brian and I were talking about it on Discord, and it kind of, in his little blog, it kind of sounded like he's like, that shit was stupid and weird.
I hate magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, like right. It's like he says. It's like,
can't believe
first
you
thing I
said
would have
that.
done is kill off magic or never bring her back from the dead or whatever. It's like okay.
Yeah, so
But,
these weren't, interview questions that were edited and
No.
misconstrued. And
it was just
it's
his
literally it's his Substack
yeah.
art, blog posting of here's some really long story about some dumb thing and I don't like magic and this never
Here's-
made sense to me. Like, it was
And then
basically
anyway,
bitching
I
and
had lunch with
complaining.
Bandidio. Right.
Did you read
Yeah.
that story? It was
Yeah.
a crazy story of like, Dan asked me who should take over after Hush, and I gave him a whole list of issues and of people, and then he chose Azzarello and Rizzo, and I don't know why he'd do that. It's because they are A, fantastic together.
Okay.
B, the 100 Bullets was cranking
Love
at that
it.
point.
Love
And it's a fun. It's a 6-issue story. It's goofy. It's
In a
got the-
bubble,
the-
yeah.
In a
but
bubble.
and it's like
It's great.
in a bubble.
But it isn't a bubble. Like it's one of those like perennial. You can pick it out and put it any place you want. And
Sure.
It's Bruce and some cops. I mean, it's got Crispus Allen, who I love, and and there's Killer Croc looking like a gangster. Like it's a fun, goofy thing. And
I
then
did
you go
not
on to
love
the
it.
next thing.
I did not love it, and I love those creators. And if you want to say here's their 6-issue Elseworld Batman Noir,
It
it doesn't have to be at Elseworlds.
It does if all of a sudden Killer Croc is a pimp, Joe, and 2 issues ago he was a monster.
All right, I mean, here's my response.
That's quite the development.
Get over it.
Unless you're Ice-T, and like you were a rapper, and now
think,
you're a pimp, and now you're on NCIS or whatever, Law and Order.
Go ahead, Brian.
Just it doesn't need to be an Elseworld. If this was part 13 of Hush, that doesn't make any sense.
Sure.
If this is but it's clearly a different thing. Like
I agree.
It's a thematic break. It's a visual break. It's an aesthetic break. He's grilling burgers and doing all that. Like,
he loves grilling. It helps him think.
It's sure.
Weird,
like, it's
man.
a fun little. And it was 6 issues, and it's beautiful artwork, and you're on to something else. And like, great, like that's exactly what those little things should be. And but Brevoort bragging that he didn't think that was a good idea is like all the red flags you could possibly need. Like, what the hell is coming? Like, I have not been on board with Krakoa. It has always felt like at some point it's going to end, and we're going to say, why did we do this? Because I don't know that anyone, other than like ruining Beast. What was the big and like completely removing all point and meaning to what Moira McTaggart has been for the entirety of her existence? The first human to die from the legacy virus, like she's a significant character. And oh, by the way, like that was all imagined, or like it doesn't count. She's been pretending, and she's a mutant, and she's lived 1,000 lives and all this stuff. Like you get into this, I don't know who has changed in some significant way other than they put on fancy outfits every year, and they lived on an island, and everybody hates them. Like I don't know what the progress that came. Like what's the payoff?
Colossus
I don't know that there was any significant.
Colossus
payoff.
is possessed by a book, I think. I mean, like that's pretty huge.
A bad Colossus story. Yes. Okay. Good. You're right.
Yeah. All I was going to say was, as a X-Men fan who grew up in the '90s and had like the X-Mansion stories up the wazoo. I like the concept of Krakoa. And by the way, I'm still playing catch up because I'm very far behind in just catching up on all the various X books. But what I can gather, I don't hate the Krakoa stories. I thought that they decided to take the whole concept of mutants into like a very interesting direction, I suppose. Of like, what if, Magneto has been trying to form like a Genosha and all that stuff. What if they actually did? Right. And then this is what the Society of Mutants, kind of turned out to be. Having said that, it definitely flips. I think there's too many big brain ideas that they tried to do throughout the series.
Yeah.
The basic concept that I became a fan of X-Men is basically, these are people who, born with abilities that they didn't ask for, and, they have a society that hates them. This is how they survive in the society. Then all of a sudden it became, well, we're actually the power structure and all the stuff that entails, including corruption, backstabbing, and ultimately where we are right now in the fall of X. So, that's the problem that I've had is that, okay, it was cool to focus on some big brain ideas and all that, but it definitely got too big, possibly, towards especially the last couple of years or the year or two. And that's kind of where I stand on it at the moment.
I feel like, correct me if you guys don't agree, but I feel like there is a line that you can look at in this Krakoa saga. He starts with the powers of 10 and whatever, House of 10, powers of 10, whatever. And it ramps up and ramps up and ramps up, and they get super powerful. And then we get that giant size X-Men, which we read and loved. It was a great book.
Yeah.
Where they terraformed Mars. And everything after that was like, oh shit, this has gone berserk. Like all of a sudden there's
I think it came before that.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I feel like that was the linchpin for me.
There were aspects of the line even after Giant Size that I thought were really good, like Legion of X with Nightcrawler and Legion.
Yeah, that was fun.
I thought that book was fantastic.
But again, there's a whole nother world that exists in Legion's mind where we did like. how many worlds are we
Yeah,
dealing with now?
But they lampshaded that so well by it wasn't like, oh, a whole new discovery. It was like, no, Legion just created a pocket universe. And they just stated it like that.
Yeah.
The end. Done. He did it.
I mean, that's fair. It just seems like everybody got so powerful so fast that it almost becomes like Dragon Ball Z with more dialogue, you know? Like,
and nobody dies.
He's
Let's
up
not forget that.
His power levels are at 1,000, you know?
And JD, I think it's valid to point out a good story that like pays things up, but I don't know that there's no reason you couldn't have done that Legion of X story from
100%.
the mansion in Westchester.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like it's not a linchpin Krakoa story where the only way to do this is to use the island. Like it was really interesting and important Nightcrawler work and Legion work, and that's great, but it's not independent of it. Like it's almost like it exists outside of the main plots, and that's good. You know, it's a good and a bad thing because it's sort of its own thing. It's not hampered by, well, don't forget Cyclops is over here, and this, it's not part 17 of something, but it also doesn't have an impact. Like it's not required reading of this big mega story and why.
Right. I think I would say, at least for me, when the Krakoa era, I think, kind of went off the rails for me was the Treehouse. When they tried to bring X-Men back and they're like, wait, we need to keep X-Men in the Marvel universe, so we've got to put them back in New York somehow, but they don't bring back the school.
Yeah, we put a giant tree.
Treehouse. In the middle of Manhattan.
Yeah. Like what are those zoning laws like? It's got to be a wild city council meeting.
Somebody, I do that for a living. I don't want to know.
What's the plumbing look like in that building? Right?
I think actually, when you looked at like the diagrams, this is gross. The building ate their poop and made their water. It's a living tree thing,
No, it didn't say anything like that.
It's the ultimate green building, literally and figuratively.
The tree had like these globes or cubes of manufactured technology, like suspended within it. So like it had actual rooms and shit that were built.
Yeah, but
that were housed in the
I'm just saying, like the food, just like Krakoa made fresh water and processed waste for everybody. That means it's eating your poop.
I hate to break it to you, man, but we got that too. I'm not saying they pump our shit back into the water. Okay, so for me, I think we've talked about this on the show. We've talked about this here in this forum before. Hickman is a wonderful writer, and I've loved a lot of what he's done. And I even do, in general, on paper, and up to a point, I did really enjoy Krakoa. But he is a writer that is more concerned about pushing his story forward, his plot forward, than he is in adhering to the established personalities of the characters that he's writing. Yeah. And so I'm not saying that like a writer can't come in and tell a story. Like, I don't mean to defend Cyclops as a terrorist because I hated that shit too, but at least that, you could see that progression.
Sure.
Right. Like you could see him being more and more militarized and radicalized as
you can draw that line
worse and worse. Right. But I like to say to Brian's point about Moira, like Moira was a significant human ally, and that's what was important about her.
Right.
For 50 years.
For 50 years. And then the legacy virus thing and like her own legacy as a supporter of mutant rights and stuff. Like that all permeated the X-Men since Giant Size X-Men #1.
Sure. Now she's an evil, cackling female Kang, essentially.
Yeah. Uncanny X-Men 95 or 6, whatever her first appearance was. And then instead, now she's, like a robot. Now she's an evil robot Terminator.
Yeah.
Who has lived multiple, like, they said it was only 10. Hickman said it was 10, but they figured out a way to make it, Sinister turned her into a button he could just push and reset at will. And so,
and she's not human, by the way, anymore.
and she's
a mutant.
mutant,
She's
right?
also not human.
And so I think like it's like okay, all right, fine. And I like you go into this journey expecting that Hickman's got a plan and a roadmap, and we know that he did. But Marvel chose to let the other writers take over,
Yeah,
and not follow his plan, and now we're left with something that's so far removed from the core of the X-Men that, like, yes, they're still prejudiced, they're still hated and feared, whatever. But this is the sort of thing that without a magic reset or a Moira, reset or whatever, that it would take years to dismantle.
Yeah.
And I think that Brevoort is just going to come in and go, it's over.
that's why you call a guy like Tom Brevoort. Old school comics, you can come in and be like, you know what?
And so
This will piss a few people off,
So
but they'll be
do
back
I-
on board next week.
so do I want a more traditional status quo return for the X-Men? Like, sure, maybe. Depends on who's involved. But I don't think it'll be satisfying if like the way that he's just going to like bulldoze over it.
Sure. Is there a satisfying way, though,
what
without
do you think
years
they're
of
going to do to
fixing it?
unring that bell? Do you think
I
it's
don't
just gonna
know.
be the
I don't know how
psychics
you can
coming
unring
together?
that bell.
Yeah.
I mean, is it the
Yeah,
psychics
that's
just coming
the
together,
fearful
making
thing.
everyone forget?
Or
Like,
that's what I'm saying.
is mutant kind just gonna like suddenly forget that they know how to bring back the dead at will? Like, I don't know
think
how
so.
you undo that.
You have to undo that because it's too far gone. We've lost stakes other than they're going to kill one of the 5 that help people.
Well, I think
that's like the only stakes.
Hickman's original stakes. I think the stakes were baked into the plot point. Is that it's not that they can resurrect the dead; it's that they can resurrect the dead, and something bad is going to come from
Right, exactly.
it. And but we never got around to that story,
Well, we did.
and we're not going to.
It was the Sinister thing.
I mean, not really.
I think that's
Well,
what it.
yeah, sure.
I think that's what it morphed into. I think that's where we ended.
Sinister's abusing the timeline resets.
Well, but
like,
he also did stuff to the resurrection protocols, so everybody
Yeah,
had
right.
a.
he infected it with
The
his
red-
own
Yeah.
DNA, right? Yeah.
And I think that's where that
Red Diamond
story
people.
ended up. This is the bad thing. Sinister got
So
involved.
now we're just gonna say, oh yes, we can resurrect the dead if we want to, but we choose not to, just in case
Something's
going
gonna
to
happen. Something will
a little
happen.
bit
No,
evil.
I think
And if you kill Faith,
I think
guess
they've
what?
gotta take
Fine with
one of the
it.
people-
Kill Gold Balls too. Don't care.
Oh, hope.
they've got to take one of the 5 out.
Oh, hope. Sorry. Yeah.
They've got to take one of the 5 out,
Yeah.
and
Or
which
just
one doesn't matter.
depower them.
Or depower.
Well,
them.
and the 5, and it's like it's also kind of interesting to note that the 5, for the most part, it's Elixir, Gold Balls, Hope, Proteus, and then
Tempo.
that time travel mutant that Bendis created.
Tempo. They can all go away, and I do not miss them
and like
ever
nobody
again.
care. Like, does anybody like? I like Gold Balls just because I think he's fun. But other than that, does anybody care about any of those
No,
characters?
absolutely not.
Hope,
complete
I think
throwaway.
Hope has some significance, especially interconnection with Cable.
I just don't
And I think
care.
if we disconnected her from the 5 and put her back in that role of like, not necessarily mutant messiah, but definitely part of that time travel contingent, I think that would be good. But yeah, the taking out the 5, I think, is one of the ways to do that because, yeah.
Well, look at the other way we've fixed giant problems with the X-Men in the past. Scarlet Witch said no more mutants. Snapped her fingers.
Mm-hmm.
Shit like that. The Genosha stuff where there was millions of mutants and they're on this island and they all got killed. All of them. Or the mutant massacre, in New York in the 80s. You just do something huge.
Yeah.
Where there's piles of mutant bodies all over the place and the X-Men, they're okay, don't worry. But they got to start all over. And maybe they have to go through the Siege
Hellfire-
Perilous and live in Australia for 15 minutes and then come back to the mansion or whatever,
Well, everyone went so crazy about the Hellfire Gala, and Orcus like wiping out all these mutants. They said it's the biggest mutant massacre. I'm like, what about the Genoshan? Wasn't that 6 million mutants or something like that?
I think it was six. I think it was
on Genosha?
16 million mutants.
It's fucking crazy.
Mutants killed
It
on
was double
Genosha, but
digits.
16 million?
because one of them was Dazzler. You know?
Yeah, Jubilee.
Who apparently turns out to be immortal anyway.
Jubilee got her head cut off. It's like, oh no, it's
Yeah,
the worst.
Yeah. Dazzler was ripped in half, so we care
16.5
about that
million
more than-
is your number. According to this comic, before Genosha, there were 17.5 million mutants on Earth. The attack on Genosha slaughtered 16.5 million of them.
Freaking lot of people.
Yeah, leaving 986,
it doesn't
618.
count because it was in Africa, Matt. I mean,
It was off the
Well,
coast
we
of
don't know who
Africa.
any of them
Come on.
were,
like,
you know, that
let's
was-
let's
Right,
just say
exactly.
let's just say what the world's thinking. Like it's in Africa, nobody gives a shit.
Yeah,
Which is obviously tragic.
it is funny that they didn't like nobody dropped a line like well, I don't know, there was that Genosha thing that was gnarly.
But it's like and also it's like we actually like I believe wasn't there a story somewhere where they were like we should resurrect Cassandra Nova?
Yeah, they talked
Didn't
about.
she come back? Isn't she back? Didn't she come back?
She was back for a
brought
minute.
her back.
Yeah, but it wasn't.
She's on the
She
X
was-
Factor team.
She was resurrected and like stuck on the X Factor team for a minute, but like
It's like not like that's
what's the scene with Omega Red? Like we
Hey,
brought back Omega
hey,
Red. Oh, he's a
let's-
problem. No shit.
like I don't know. Like I get Omega Red
No
is evil,
shit.
but like you lift up Omega Red as like this. Like Omega Red is just a guy,
no, I get it, but
like,
I mean,
yeah,
like
yeah,
he's also
he's
a
a killer.
psychopath.
but so is Sabretooth.
he's an
right?
unrepentant psychopath. Why
Omega
would you be
Red
like,
is a
but it's like,
third-rate Wolverine?
we need
villain
that
at
around?
best.
You know?
But like, it's like the X-Men got together and Kitty Pryde's like, I think we should resurrect Hitler.
yeah, no,
Like,
No,
Yeah, Hitler and Goebbels in one person.
Yeah.
That's
leave
basically
her.
who they were.
Just let her be dead.
Well, but they did when they like resurrected Apocalypse and shit, and they resurrected, Proteus. These guys are Hitler level. Okay, they're not even Hitler level.
hold
They're well above Hitler power in their ability to destroy the planet. And we're like, yeah, you guys should come
Sure, yeah.
sit on the Quiet Council with us. You'll be great.
And it's like, yeah. I mean, it doesn't hold
how
up
did you
any kind
expect that
of.
was going to end?
It doesn't
Yeah,
hold up to
how
any
did
kind
you
of
think
scrutiny.
this
It's
was
like,
going to end?
I don't care how many. I don't care how much time Apocalypse spent eat, pray, loving on Araco or whatever. It's like I get it. He's all Zen now, and he's
Sure.
left his identity as Apocalypse behind, and now he's unpronounceable symbol. He's the prince of the Marvel universe.
We've firmly established, by the way, that
The artist formerly known as Apocalypse.
he came
He's
from Mars
6,000
to
years old.
ancient
How-
Egypt, right? That we've firmly established that now. He was
No. The Araco is not from Mars. Araco is from Earth. It was originally a part of Krakoa.
Oh, that's
They
right.
were
I apologize. That's right.
one island that was split into two.
But what did
and
it?
then
it
it
is
was
renamed
shunted into
Mars
another
Araco.
dimension.
But the Arakanese,
Yeah.
that was like he is from their race, and he ended up
Yeah,
in
from-
Egypt, leading them around. Some of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like it's like you telling me that Apocalypse over the course of his 6,000 years walking the Earth has not racked up a body count in the
Thousands.
quintuple
Oh,
digits?
much more than that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, you don't think
that
that guy's responsible for some genocide?
Over 6,000
Here and
years,
there.
I'll bet he's killed 1 billion people.
I'm about to say,
Don't forget
it's
his
a lot
time
of
in the
people.
future too.
Yeah.
yeah,
Future as well. Yes.
Right. 1,000-year reign. You're right, Ryan.
Yeah.
Ryan. Like he lives all the way into the Ascani times. Like that guy. No.
All right, I think he's a
Leave
bad
him-
guy. I think,
Yeah, right. I think
Apocalypse
it's
is a bad
safe.
guy.
It's
Firmly
safe to say
established.
that
the bad
maybe
guy.
you don't need him to be an architect of your plan,
Right.
Chuck.
Oh, but he had to be there to kill all the mutants that wanted their powers back. Remember?
Yeah, I'm right.
Yeah, there was that. There was that.
And
Okay, so let's dial it back to somebody
yeah,
who's
I mean, we're gonna spend the whole hour picking apart all the
well,
dumb things.
let's just
that
dial it
happened
back to
during
somebody
Krakoa.
who's supposed to be
Like,
a good guy.
We're
Where does-
gonna create a to the death battle royale for people to get their pride back.
Well, okay.
All
All right, so
There was a bunch of bad
So let's-
stuff. My point being, when this all settles, when Tom Brevoort says it's gone, there is one character specifically that is going to be in the biggest trouble. That I don't know how we're ever going to look at them the same again, and that is Professor X. Professor X. Like,
he always does that though. He's always the
he always
the
ends
worst guy
up
in the room.
he always ends up the shitheel at the end of this, where it's just like,
Right.
why does Professor X has to always end up such an asshole? You know?
Because he is. Because Professor Xavier
Professor
is
X is a jerk.
Canonically.
Yeah.
I was going to say, do you remember Kitty Pryde calls him out on a cover of an X-Men comic saying Professor X is a jerk?
Yeah.
Pointing right at him.
It's the opening page
Paul
of that
Smith
issue,
did
the
that one.
splash page.
Yeah,
opening
it's right
splash.
there.
Everyone knows.
So the reason Xavier does that is that he knows in his heart of hearts, but won't admit it, that Magneto is right, and that his weak sauce attempts at humanity and trying to merge together and do the right thing, it doesn't work. Like, you can't. It doesn't mean exterminate, but you you got to use some force sometimes, and you have to show people the
You have to fight for your right to exist.
You have to fight for your right, which is what why Magneto is right, and he vehemently disagrees with that, but he always loses because he can't pull the trigger on it.
He also keeps him around though. He's like, he knows, so he keeps him around.
Yeah.
And don't worry,
but
January, Resurrection of Magneto. He's back. Issue 1 hits in January.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
as long as he doesn't have any sleeves in his
said,
costume, I'm good with that.
Magneto's return is how we get out of the Orcus trap that we're in, because the whole trap on Hellfire and Orcus's big move and all of that was predicated solely on Magneto being out of the picture.
Yeah.
They capitalized on his absence and took out the X-Men the way they did. If Magneto was there, that wouldn't have never happened.
Probably not. Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. And Orcus is another thing. It's just way too powerful in the Marvel universe right now.
Yeah. And that's why we got to get Magneto
Way
back,
too
and he's just
powerful.
going to dismantle him. We're going to have a Magneto rampage when he comes back, and it's hopefully going to be satisfying.
I think that I think that Orcus specifically is something that I can't really abide in, as far as their current place in Marvel Comics, because for them to exist and operate with impunity, we have to allow for the fact that everyone else on Earth is cool with them.
Right. Rounding up mutants
like,
and putting them in concentration camps and shit.
Acting like
Civil
Nazi
War.
Germany level, like
Marvel Civil War
stormtroopers walking
level
the
shit,
streets.
basically. This is the thing that made
It's like Operation Zero Tolerance writ large.
Like the last time something this big happened, Captain America and Iron Man ended up on different sides and everybody fought each other. And this time they're like,
I'm thinking back to Bastion and Operation Zero Tolerance.
Yeah, no,
That's
you're
what
right.
this is like.
Where they're like they're like if there's and then like what didn't the U.S. government do some dumb shit about like they outlawed the use of mutant powers or something, and that's what allows them, like, if a mutant uses their powers in public and Orcus detects it with their magic mutant detecting box, that they could just get shuffled off
something along
to
those
some
lines.
camp somewhere.
Yeah,
it's an example of all the extreme version of all these things.
Yes,
right. Like in Zero Tolerance, it was Bastion saying like, "Hey, I'm not a bad guy, but maybe mutants are really dangerous and we should get rid of them." And then he mutes the mic and says, "Round them all up." And then he gets back out and says, "Oh no, like this is." They're not good. Look what they did to that community. Look at the way we should stop things.
Right.
And then Orcus is like, "Oh, if we see a mutant, we're going to kill some humans." Yep.
Yeah.
And then Captain America says, for the record, I disagree with this. And that's what Uncanny Avengers is. Like, it's literally him being like, "I don't know, guys.
That doesn't seem very
cool."
nice.
It's like, but and it's like, where's Luke Cage saying like, "Not in my fucking city"?
But they're also trying to hide the worst stuff, right? Like, they only told the mutants that they're going to kill all the humans.
True.
And so, but they're like, no, where is any one character saying like, by the way, this is the threat they made. If they find one of us just like hanging out, they're going to murder 1 million human people.
Cap knows this. He's on a team with X people, Uncanny Avengers, you know? Like,
it's like, what?
Yeah,
Like, this
Rogue
is not
was
something
there
like
at some
it
point,
makes
you know?
no
Yeah.
sense. It makes no
Yeah.
sense that this would be allowed.
Well, it's like it's too big of an X-Men story, but then it's not worth it to tie up the rest of the Marvel line of comics, which is like
Right.
that's a red flag of like it's
Right.
too massive and too hard to contemplate
Yeah.
for the X books, but the Fantastic Four doesn't want that heat. Like, no, I'm good.
Totally.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Reed's not
we just
gonna
want
get
to
in
ride. We just want to drive around in our Winnebago.
right. It's
we don't have
it's
Reed
it's
facing
Batman
off
City.
against, like
It's,
evil Sinister. Like, where is that?
Yeah.
You know, there should be some. You'd think there would be that, and not that I want a company wide crossover about it, because I just don't think it's worth it. And I think it's like how we can discuss it now and agree, but where's the whiteboard like 8 months ago, a year ago, when they were writing it out and they were like, yeah, so no other tie-ins, right? Yeah, we're good. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
there absolutely would be if this were 5 years ago or 10 years ago, if this were like around the like
5 years
Well,
ago,
shit.
DC Future State. Remember DC Future State, where they were like, "Oh, the cities got turned into
Yeah,
future,"
and,
and we jumped
I'm talking
everything,
about, like,
and like they
What's the
looked at
Hickman
that
one
and
he
they
did?
went,
the
"This tanked."
his last, because they
Infinity,
did
Secret
Infinity
Wars.
did 1,000 Battle World crossover issues,
Right.
right?
Secret
Like,
Wars, Secret
yeah.
Wars, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, so Bendis did this a decade ago when, like, Norman Osborn snuck his way into a position of power because it's not public record that he's a cackling supervillain.
Sure.
And like that I'm on board for. And
Chip
he, like,
Zdarsky just
slowly,
did it
like,
too. Chip Zdarsky just
Right.
did it in Daredevil. You know, like
And-
Wilson Fisk
and it's like-
becomes the mayor,
but
outlaws
then
superheroes.
there was it got to a point, right, where the heroes were like, no. And we got the crossover where they shut that shit down.
Right.
There absolutely would be a concentrated force of heroes
Yes.
that are like, no, this cannot stand.
This is exactly what we said
And
about
they're just-
Batman
it's
City
not-
of Bane.
It's just not happening.
When Bane took over Gotham, and we were like, okay. I mean, I get like Batman's like, this is my town, Superman, back off. But Superman wouldn't be like, nah, man, like, nope, sorry,
Yeah,
we're
you
done
might
here.
time jump and suddenly, you know.
Right. Green Lantern and
uh,
Superman single-handedly just come down. You know, he makes a boxing glove, punches Bane in the balls, and Superman takes him into space and goes, we're done here. You know, like, whatever. Right? You know?
I'd read that comic.
Yeah, I could write it for you. I just wrote it. So there you go. You draw it out.
Right.
We got a hit
It's
here.
amazing, Matt, how much more nuance your story had than Tom King's story. That's
Truly.
amazing. Just-
Truly.
And you didn't have to quote anybody else's work.
Yeah.
You didn't have to like put any
There was
prose
no
or poetry in there.
Didn't have to shoot
There was
Dick
no,
Grayson in the head and change his name, you know, like none of that.
yeah, no Prairie Home on the Range literal script in your $4 comic.
I think just because we've kind of spent the whole episode talking about this, but just to kind of like sum up what I think we're all thinking is that this was an idea that could have been good and maybe was good for some people for a while, but they just went too far.
They
They
need
went
to
too
contain
far,
it.
and now
Yeah.
there's no way for them to put it back to in the bottle in a satisfactory way. Like, I almost wish there would be a cosmic reset, because at least then I'd be able to justify. I'd be like, okay,
Be
well,
careful what you
I don't
wish
like it,
for.
but
Because
fine.
when the Beyonder shows up in 2 issues here, you're going to be like, ah! Like,
They
no!
need a cosmic reset. I just think the telepaths need to just get together and just say forget.
What about
Oh,
Mars,
I think-
JD? What about Mars?
Yeah, what about the rest of the universe?
There's like 300,000
Yeah,
like Arakans
I
running
think they should
around.
keep Mars. I think they should keep Araco. Well,
See,
it's decimated after
Yeah.
Orcus, so hardly anything there. But no, but I mean, I think the exploring the ethics of a massive telepathic rewrite like that and having that sit over everyone's head is a good way to have your cake and eat it too. We can get back to the status quo and also have this whole dark secret on top of it that we might have to address at some point when we get a writer that's decent enough.
Sure. Professor X has done it before. He did it to Magneto.
Yep.
He made him not evil. And everyone's like, how can you do that?
You made everyone forget the first
set his
the
brain
second
back to
class
factory
mutant.
reset.
Yeah.
What if Scarlet Witch just says only Joseph's and they just make everyone's mind and they all turn them back into Joseph's? They should do that.
Well, Scarlet Witch is sitting right there, man. She'll do it again. She did it once.
She's like, "Oh, you need me to fix everything again?
Yeah.
All right, I guess I could do that."
She is your
All right,
Deus Ex
so-
Machina, definitely.
I will just say one more thing about the because I'm looking at I went on, don't tell my wife, I went on a pretty extensive X-Men omnibus binge where I have basically the entire
I'm
Claremont
texting
run.
her right now.
Don't do it, Joe. Don't do it. And I can't wait to get into it. But so I'm like in that very mindset of like the school and the mansion and all that stuff. And I think having we've seen it work before, like it worked in the 90s. Morrison, it worked with Jason Aaron and like Wolverine and the X-Men. Like that book is largely excellent.
Yeah,
like
it is. It really is very good.
And it really was that like get down to the basics of it, right? Like it's Wolverine as a lovable, scruffy, tries to be a hard ass, but heart of gold.
Yeah, kids love him
and all that. Yeah, the kids love him, and he's a rascal, and like, but there's like it's a fun educational place to be, and I think that's a really interesting thing to do, and they can do that again. But I'm worried that we're going to get a Brevoort special, and all of a sudden it's going to be the mansion is in Central Park again. And I mean, we had so much bad stuff for so long before the Hickman reset, like the gold and the blue team, and Jeff Lemire writing it. Cullen Bunn and Jeff Lemire were the premier writers. Like, unmemorable is a one way to put it, because who could even tell anyone what happened in any of those books? But
I honestly can't remember anything that happened.
I'm sitting here going, Jeff Lemire wrote an X-Men book?
Yeah, he wrote like X-Men Blue for like 2 years or something, or a year and a half, or
all
right.
Yeah, and it was completely forgettable, and that's why they gave Hickman carte blanche to do total nonsense and fuck everything up for the next 15 years, because that's what he's done.
Yeah,
and
kind of.
Now they got to dig out of it. So there is potential for the school. I love those, Uncanny X-Men 273 when the school is ruined, but they all make it, all the groups are there and they're talking about all the different, like, what are we going to do? And it's after the Extinction Agenda, and like you see everyone together, like in the danger room kind of thing. And it's like, God, like it's so fun to see them, all the personalities and the groups and all the people together, and let them like live their lives rather than like, you don't need a central theme. Like you could do a clean reset.
Sure.
Like a reboot, like in the 91 reboot where X Factor was not the same book that it was with the beginning of like the Bob Layton original 5 X-Men. Like that Peter David book is so far from what it started at.
Yeah, but it was also
so
self-contained. That's the thing. All these creators you talked about, the ones that we like, did really good self-contained X stuff. Like Claremont had some big Phoenix Saga and shit, Universal spanning, but it was all in space. It was all in space. If you lived in Cleveland, you may not have even known this was happening, right? I mean, and I think that's kind of the big difference. This Hickman stuff got so big that it just like spilled all over the Marvel Universe, but most of the Marvel Universe is like, well, we can't even deal with that in this book right now because I'm trying to tell my story. Like Moon Knight's not going to give a shit about any of this. He's got bigger problems right now,
Like dying.
Yes.
So
I do think Brevoort just resets it. Old school wrestling. You're a new character.
I just don't know how.
Go.
I just don't know how they do it in a way that's going to be satisfying to people that have been reading the whole time. It's like, I'm not saying that I want a long lingering goodbye to the Krakoa era.
Sure.
I don't. But story wise, like, if like you can't just unless they do what JD says, like they can't just ignore all the things that have happened.
But they do it all the time.
Like something.
They do it all the time.
Not like
but
this, man.
The changes are too significant. The Mars stuff, the resurrections, like
right. The X-Men
so
are a global power in the universe.
I agree.
In the galaxy.
I would be willing to bet that, and Damon will know what I'm talking about. But they go full on. Everybody loves The Undertaker. Cool. Tonight he's going to come out as the American badass on a motorcycle. Totally different theme. And you're going to go, wait a minute. I thought he was
with people.
I thought he was dead. I thought he was dead.
That's not.
I thought he had a demon.
That's
I agree.
Not good.
I agree. I'm not saying it's satisfying or good. I'm saying they can do it. They did it. and they
Well, yes,
made it
all
work.
right.
All I was going
That's
to
what
say to that point, by the way, is that there was a contingent of people
Oh yeah.
who did not like American Badass.
No, he
at
came
all.
back as the
Yeah,
Undertaker
however-
not long after. I mean, he was like, "Oh, don't worry, he's dead again,
Yeah.
folks."
it's not going to be like that was my point. It's like I know that they can do it. They can do whatever they want. They
Yeah.
can put everybody in Franklin's bouncy ball for like
Sure.
who cares?
That's a
But
perfect
it won't-
example, Joe. That's
It
a
won't be
perfect
it
example.
won't be satisfying.
I agree.
Like it won't be satisfying.
I'm saying prepare.
like this is
to
not
be
something you can't. This is not something you can
unsatisfied.
undo in a simple way.
Prepare to be unsatisfied.
Right, and
Yeah.
Brevoort doesn't
Right,
seem to
I
be
agree with
either
you
way,
there.
to be fair. So
I-
we're about to find out.
There is not a
So,
quick and dirty
speaking-
way.
Speaking of Hickman, did you guys see the big Ultimate Spider-Man news this week?
Yes.
Yes.
So
Oh,
Ultimate
movie Parker?
Spider-Man, yes. So there's been a lot of questions about the new Ultimate Universe, and we can tell so far from solicits that this weird like socio-political dynamic with the like fiefdoms running the world or whatever is a thing. They're sticking with that, but we didn't know if Peter Parker was going to be Spider-Man because we know that the maker prevented him from getting bitten as a kid.
Right.
Well, they revealed this week that Ultimate Spider-Man is going to be about Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man as a grown man after he's been married and had children. And so he doesn't become Spider-Man as a kid, he becomes Spider-Man as an adult, and it's about a family man like grappling with that. And it's like Peter and Mary Jane, and they've got 2 kids, and if the 2 kids aren't named May and Ben, I don't know what we're even doing. And but I
Why
think it's,
even bother?
Yeah.
right. But it's like it's a very interesting. Like this is a twist. This is like an Ultimate style twist. You know, it's not just Spider-Man, but young and modern.
right,
no,
right.
it's like a completely
Yeah,
different
but I mean,
origin.
It's Spider Dad,
It
which
sounds like
we've
this
wanted to see
Ultimate
forever.
Universe is doing that across the board, though, because I mean, to bring it back to X-Men, they also announced the Ultimate X-Men book written by Peach Momoko, in which the X-Men are
I'm
formed in
excited
Japan.
for that. I'm very excited for that Peach Momoko book.
I think it's gonna look neat. I've never read anything she's written, so we'll see. I don't know.
When I see the popularity of that creator, I feel like I've gone insane. I don't get it. I don't know how.
I'm
it's
not.
like there's so much. The
I'm not a-
variant covers are so expensive and it's so prevalent, and there's so much of it. I'm like,
I think
who is
her
doing
variant
what?
covers
And
are
what
cool.
is this?
I like the variant covers. I think she's a very talented, great cover artist. They did that X-Men Ninja thing or whatever it was. What was it
X-Men
called?
Demon Days.
Yes, Demon Days.
Yeah.
I could not read it. I read the first one and I was just not like angry or like this is terrible, but I was going to review it for the show and I just went, you know what? No. I got nothing to say about this.
Yeah, who is it for?
A
is
little-
my thing.
yes,
Like,
that's where it was.
What,
Like-
what is this?
Is this like for a toy line that I don't know exists or something? Or like, what are we doing? You know?
I mean, like as its own thing, like whatever. Like I couldn't really get into it either, but I do kind of. Excuse me.
She wrote that, didn't she? Wrote Demon Days, right?
Yeah.
She
yeah.
wrote and drew it, yeah.
Yes.
I love her art,
I do too.
and I like
Okay, I love
incorporating the Japanese folklore and stuff into the work. Like that's like fine. It's not always my cup of tea, and I don't know what she's gonna do with the X-Men, but I think it's super interesting that they're not just doing modern takes on the origins and stories that we know. It
Sure.
seems like no, this really is an alternate universe with a different history.
right. As opposed
and,
to, oh, there's a blonde Wolverine kid here.
right,
Oh, no.
it's Wolverine's kid, and of course, the neckbeards are out in force. The ones that Marvel is seemingly saying, "Look, see, married Peter, it's Mary Jane. They're together. Look, we
Yeah.
did it."
We did it. We did it.
Except the neckbeards are like, "The fuck you did? This isn't the 616 universe." Blah 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 blah. It's like,
It's
And
so great.
Look,
I don't know.
there is a part of me.
You can't like. There's no.
I have-
you can't please them. You can't.
I
please
have
them
made
ever,
that same
so.
exact argument. So I can't say, like, look, I've wanted Peter to grow up for a while now. I've wanted Peter to just be married, have a baby, see a next step. You know, like I have had that same argument, right? I think this is cool that they are going to do it in this Ultimate Universe. We all know this Ultimate Universe doesn't last forever. It has 1, maybe 2, 3 good years before it stops selling. And we go, all right, Hickman lost interest. He's
It'll be interesting to see at one point Hickman.
Hickman's going to hand it off to
decides
Ed
he's done with
Brisson,
it.
and then
yeah.
Hickman hands, and then
Here
it's
you go
over.
again.
Like,
Ed Brisson and Cullen Bunn show up. Yeah, they
Yep.
go, all right, jobbers, get in
Matthew
here.
Rosenberg is gonna be. Oh, well, it was supposed to be Donnie Cates, right? So
Yeah. It's supposed to be
already
Donny
it's
Cates.
That's the thing that I think is really interesting is that this story, it's like Hickman's grand idea, and then it's like based on an idea by Donny Cates. Like, wait,
Yeah.
so whose story is this? Like, what
I think
how does that work? And I know that Cates can't, he's not available at the moment.
I think it's firmly
it's-
Hickman's now. And it sounds kind of like Donny Cates, like, they were sitting in the bar going back and forth. I want to bring back the Ultimate Universe. I'd do something like this. But I don't think anything was like written even on a napkin. It sounds to me like they talked about it. Hickman was like, I'd like to do it. And Cates was like, do it, man. Take it away. Go for it. I'm busy healing or whatever. Cates has got a million stories in it. He'll be fine. Final thought on Peach Momoko. I love her art. I don't need a whole comic book of her art. I'll say that.
I don't know. I'm going to say
I mean, we'll see what it is.
Yeah. We'll see what it
Matthew
is.
Rosenberg. I feel like the pre-Krakoa era, Matthew Rosenberg was the biggest victim of all of that.
Oh, yeah.
He was doing some good stuff that
Yes.
people gave no shits about because we knew Hickman was coming.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
He did that Kotati spinoff with the swordsman, with like plant swordsman character, and it was a one shot that I raved about because it like went back and looked at the swordsman and Avengers history and stuff. And was like, this is way better than it has any business being. No one bought it. It's gone. Like we don't even talk about that shit anymore. But he is good. I think he's just been the victim of you don't get to pick your job yet.
I
Sorry,
mean,
Matt.
I didn't bring his name up as a dig. This was more to Brian's point about like Marvel has one bullet in their gun, and that bullet is Jonathan Hickman.
Yes.
And then, no offense to any other writer in their roster, but everybody else is like getting hit with a beanbag.
Yeah.
It's they're good. They're good writers, but they don't have a roster of superstar writers like they once did.
Yeah.
Like Kieran Gillen,
Yeah,
I guess, but even Kieran Gillen is like
DC is building that roster right now.
Well, and also, I
Right.
feel like a lot of the creators with these announcements of these houses, like Ghost Machine and even Distillery and groups like that.
Flux House, like Matt Kent with Flux House, like everybody. Giant Generator that just announced Rick
Giant
Remender's
Generator.
new deal with them.
Those. I feel like it's almost like they're unionizing.
To a
Kind
point.
of.
Yeah. I think to a
But
point.
they're all in separate unions.
Yeah, they're all in separate unions.
They're all in
But at the
separate
same
unions. Yeah.
But like, look
But
at
they're- but they're
Man of
taking away
Action.
their
Man of Action back in the
exclusivity
day.
with
Joe
publishing.
Kelly, Joe Casey.
Hold on. JD, finish what your thought.
Oh,
there.
sorry.
I was just gonna say, but they're taking away their exclusivity to the big publishers. Like,
Right.
Ghost Machine says that everyone associated with Ghost Machine, once their contracts are up, they're exclusive to Ghost Machine,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
which I think is a big sea change, and I hope it's for the better. I think it's for the better. I hope it's for the better.
Who's Ghost
Might
Machine?
not be.
Who's Ghost
That's
Machine?
the Brad Meltzer, Jeff Johns.
Oh, right.
Jeff Johns or Jeff Lowe?
Jeff Johns.
Johns, yeah.
Yeah.
Brad Meltzer.
Pete
as
Tomasi.
I remember, but
Okay.
yeah.
I hope it's not Jeff Loeb.
Yeah.
It's a smart idea to band together and give, kind of make a mini imprint sort of thing, like something you can put on a cover that it's like, oh, I know that brand, right? Like it's an image
Like
comic,
Black
but
Label, Matt, right?
No,
Black Label.
no. We're talking like Man of Action was what I was talking about. Joe Kelly, Joe Casey. Back in the day,
I know.
they put their heads
Joe.
together. They created Ben 10. Probably made enough money that now they can write comics for shits and giggles if they feel like it.
That's a good
But
point.
that was a good model for them. They got together and said, we don't have any power. Let's put our heads together. We'll put out some comics and we'll
Well,
workshop
it's a
some
studio.
stuff.
It's the studio model. That
Yeah.
there have been artistic and writing studios for decades.
Yeah, I mean, that's how
Yeah,
Image started,
There's
right?
Periscope.
Sure.
I mean, they weren't a studio, but yeah. But Periscope Studios,
Gaijin
is
Studios back
yeah.
in the 90s.
Steve
Yeah.
Lee, Steve
Is it
Lieber, and
largely
a bunch
how
of
they-
people. Yeah, Gaijin.
Is that largely the manga model?
The what?
I don't know. That's
kind
a
of like
Jim.
the manga.
That's a Jim
manga.
question. I thought manga dudes were like solo acts.
I
but
think
with
I think
assistants.
manga's a lot more like
I
one
thought it was
creator
studio.
is steering the ship. You have like that's it. It's like a one-man baseball team and coach, from what I can tell.
Yeah, but I think
think-
they have like a bunch of people working for him, though, right?
Yeah,
but
So they
assistants, yeah.
have so they'll get assistants, but that's after you make it big. So generally the model is I submit my idea. They're like, okay, we'll print it to see if it gets any traction, and then if it's successful, they'll sign you to only publish in Jump or another thing. And then as long as you keep getting big, you get assistants. But your assistants do leave on. So like Chainsaw Man went for a time because all his assistants got popular with other works. You do go solo, but it's kind of a flow thing.
Right. That's what happened to One Punch Man, right? At first he was just him. It was great. He got some assistants, and then he lost them.
One Punch Man is interesting because he started as a webcomic.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right.
And
That's
then, right. So and then he's getting popular internet traction. And then Murata, the artist now, he's like, "Oh, I love your work." And he's like, "Really?" And then it's like, "Yeah, let's just redo it, and I'll draw it, and you can rewrite it." And
fair enough.
money, money, money.
Fair enough. It's like those. It's like we're getting something similar in the folk simile editions with like Jim Starlin coming back to like tell the tale of what if Robin lived or didn't die in January and stuff. And they're just like the same crew
They're
rewriting and
publishing-
redrawing
it's
it.
not, no, it's the unpublished ending that they had ready in case the phone poll went the other way.
I think
It's not a new story.
Oh no, I know, but they're redoing it from what I understand. Like new,
they're
brand new art and
they're
everything.
printing the alternate version of Batman 428 or whatever it is, where Robin lives.
Right. But like they got the whole
Yeah.
crew together and like redraw it, resex it up. Let's the story. But I think they're redoing
Is
the
Jim
whole thing.
Aparo still around?
No, I don't think they had to redraw it. I think
I
that
think
art
it's done,
exists. That art already exists.
No, I'm sure I know it exists, but well, I mean, look, maybe it's all being done digitally. They made it sound like this is complete new format. We're gonna take the original art and we're sexing it up and reprinting it. And
No, I mean they
They're-
might jazz it up, but
Yeah.
yeah, like those pages are inked. Like the inked pages exist that Jim Aparo drew where Robin survives the explosion.
and we have never seen or even heard what happened with that. Right? It just went nope. Everybody voted. He died.
They did
It's come
in-
out a little bit that
Has
it was
it?
kind of rigged.
in Batman Annual 25, the Judd Winnick and Shane Davis Red Hood issue. They do like how he came back. Like they show the mystery.
I
they
remember
reveal
that.
the mystery of him digging himself out.
Yeah.
In that, they printed some of the pages where he doesn't die. It's like the Superboy punch in the wall thing. Crackle, crackle, crackle.
Yeah.
And there's at least one page of, oh my God, thank God you're alive. Him holding him in his arms.
Right.
Bruce-
That's the page that they always show. It's like there's
Yeah.
the famous page where he gets the body out of the rubble and he's dead. There's that, and then there's an alternate version where he's like Batman, like shouting with joy to the heavens. It's like he's alive, he's alive. Like so, that artwork is out there. That they did it already because they had to make two versions.
Right.
And that was 20 years ago, maybe? Maybe less than that, but
I bet it was more than that.
Annual, yeah, that was a long
Yeah.
time ago.
Oh, the annual
Early
is probably
2000
20 years ago. I bet.
yeah.
Okay.
2005, 2003,
Yeah.
something around there, right?
Nerds.
Well, 2005 was Infinite Crisis, so
I gotta
Yeah,
peel
right-
out.
right
I
after
gotta go buy stuff to shave this damn beard so I can dress up for Halloween. It's gonna be crazy. So
I
next,
can't believe you're doing it.
Yeah.
I can't believe
you
you're
gotta
actually
commit.
going through
You
with
gotta commit. I'm
The
telling you
whole
what.
beard?
You got the whole beard. It's going away.
Oh,
I can grow another one in a
Pictures
week.
then,
I can
obviously.
I can clench my fists and grow a new one. Don't worry, it'll be back. So
I love how I got to go out and buy shaving cream as your excuse for bouncing from the podcast.
no, I
but
gotta
okay.
I gotta put my whole costume together and paint my whole head gold and stuff. Like this is a thing.
Are you going tonight? Is it tonight that you're doing it tonight?
Everybody goes to Halloween parties tonight. They're not gonna go on Tuesday.
Are you going to Devin's party?
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Oh, cool.
Wait a minute. Is this public knowledge? Can you say what you're going to be, or is this a spoiler?
I'm Yogurt from Spaceballs.
He's going.
Oh,
as
geez.
and she and Casey, the current Mrs. Baum is going as Barf, right?
Yeah, she's gonna be Barf.
Oh, gee,
Yeah,
that's amazing! Holy crap!
yeah. So I gotta
Bartholomew.
I gotta put this all together because there are no like, hey, buy your yogurt costumes out there. Like you got to do some work.
Right. They don't make despite Mel Brooks. Despite Mel Brooks's call for merchandising, they did not make a yogurt.
They did not.
Yeah, there's not many
That's right.
Spaceballs merchandise, unfortunately.
No,
so.
unfortunately. All right. Well, happy Halloween, you guys.
If you
be
do
careful.
show up with I hope I just get a bent stick with a little sign on it that says Spaceballs the flamethrower.
No, I'm just gonna do the walking stick, so we don't need to go that far with it. It's too much. So,
Come on.
no, you're taking it too far as usual. All right. Love you guys. Happy Halloween. Be safe. Be smart. We're going to do our zombie show this week since it got messed up last week and I can't let it go. So,
We'll
we'll see you in the Cosmic Long Box.
I made it through this, so we'll probably be okay.
All right.
I mean, Halloween's this week, so we're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah. It'll be fine.
Yeah,
There
we're
you
good.
go.
All right. Talk to you guys soon.